Welcome back. Well, after a series of apparent missteps and months of scrutiny, the head of the FDA is calling for a review of the agency's food and tobacco programs. The announcement aims to push the agency past recent controversies, and that includes their slow response to the formula contamination issues that killed as many as 9 children. Well, in February, the FDA temporarily shut down the nation's largest baby formula facility, Abbott Nutrition, and that closure triggered months of supply shortages, with parents around the country scrambling to find enough formula to feed their children. And meanwhile, the agency's tobacco program also under fire as it has struggled to regulate e-cigarettes. The FDA has missed court-ordered deadlines as it tried to determine which vaping products can stay on the shelves and which must go. And Juul, of course, at the epicenter of the controversy, a ban on that product currently on hold. Former FDA Associate Commissioner and current president of the Center for the Medicine in the Public Interest, Peter Pitts, joining us now. Thank you for your time, Peter.
Sure, my pleasure.
Well, Peter, we first want to touch on the formula shortage. FDA Commissioner Robert Califf blaming the slow response on systemic issues. Is there just too much red tape, too much bureaucracy inside of the FDA, and how can that possibly be fixed?
Well, the FDA regulates about 2/3 of the American economy. It's an enormous task. And Dr. Califf has said that part of the problem relative to the baby food shortage was a lack of proper processes and procedures inside the FDA. That's true, but it's not an excuse. And bravo for Dr. Califf for recognizing that changes need to be made and bringing in the Reagan-Udall Foundation to understand what's happening and make solid recommendations. Similarly, to the issues facing the agency on Juul and other vaping products.
Well, and we wonder now that the FDA says it does plan to allow formula from other countries to remain in the U.S. To give parents more access. How does the FDA determine the safety of products that weren't made here?
Well, once the FDA decides that a product is going to be allowed into the U.S., it has to inspect the factories. It has to understand the chemistry behind the products, just like every product that's sold in the U.S., regardless of where it's manufactured. The FDA is going to inspect those facilities and ensure that all baby food formula brought in from overseas meets the same high standard for those products manufactured here in the U.S. So no fear relative to quality. The issue is what the price is going to be, and is the FDA properly staffed to do the job?
And the FDA has issues with repeated missed deadlines as well, including one from last September where the agency was tasked to decide which e-cigarettes were allowed to remain on the market. And the FDA says it simply did not anticipate these 6.7 million vaping product applications. In your eyes, is that backlog an excuse? And why does the agency seem to be targeting so much one company so much harder than others?
I don't believe in excuses. It doesn't advance the public health. Juul obviously is the face of the vaping industry, even though it's no longer the largest vaping company in the U.S. The FDA initially said that Juul was going to be taken off the market because it was not of benefit to helping people quit smoking. Not true. And that there were issues relative to leakage of certain toxic chemicals. Juul said there were 6,000 pages of evidence to the contrary. The FDA basically said, oops, we didn't see it. We better go back and look at it. That's not an excuse. It's sloppy and can't stand. The FDA's got to do an excellent job every single time.
Well, let me ask you, even if the Juul ban does go into effect, aren't people still going to have access to other very similar vaping products?
Of course. There are products on the market right now identical to the Juul product. Keeping Juul off the market seems political. It seems vindictive. It's not following the science. And that does not build public trust in the FDA's processes. That's got to change. And that's why the Reagan-Udall Foundation is also looking at the FDA's policies and procedures relative to vaping and tobacco products, and appropriately so.
All right, former FDA Commissioner Peter Pitts, we certainly appreciate your insight and time. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.